Okay, just a injury update. Just to follow up from last night, Woods, Lou Vu, C.G. Henderson, no further update yet. We'll give you some more information on Wednesday when we have a little bit further time to evaluate them. As we mentioned last night, Mingo is in the concussion protocol. We'll just follow that to the T. And then as far as Bryce, he's just continuing to try to work back. We'll continue to consult with the doctors, trainers, obviously, and Bryce, and just keep progressing him and see how things go. So, just looking at the tape, listen, I'm not going to give a long statement. I mean, we know we got to get better in every area. There's encouraging things on the tape. Individual play, there's encouraging things that's in unit play at times, things that I know we can build off of. At the same time, I think as coaches and players, we feel an extreme sense of urgency, to kind of get the ship righted and start turning these things into victory. So, this progress is good, and I do believe we're making progress in some areas, but I also believe we feel the sense of urgency to get things on track.
Frank, you said yesterday that 58 passes, 14 runs was not the formula. When you're the guy who calls the plays, how do you kind of take the temperature around you and sort of communicate with people to see if you're on the right track?
Yeah. So, I tell Thomas and, Thomas mainly, but the whole offensive staff, and Thomas and Parks and Deuce as the assistant head coach. Those guys, know that at one level that you don't want to bother the play caller, but Thomas especially knows that he can talk to me anytime and say, hey, and he does. And he did yesterday, hey, let's try to get, a run here, a run there. And so that's normal. Just from a lot of years of calling it, I would say that I've seen a theme in these kind of games, where you end up having as few runs as we had. So at the end of the day, we're committed to running the football. You say, well, then why don't you call more runs? Well, because I'm first committed to winning the game. And so we're going to call whatever we think we need to call to win that particular game. In the perfect world, you're a 60-40 pass run or, 55-45. But game by game, you just never know how it's going to work out. And just a quick little context on that. I think I looked at it. There's 40 plays run in this game from late in the third quarter on where we're down 2 scores. 40 plays. That's a lot of plays. I think on my tape, it was play 47. From play 47 to play 86 is 40 plays. And when the offense takes the field on each of those plays, we're down 2 scores. And we're down 2 scores with a quarterback who's playing pretty good and spreading the ball around and making plays. And the run game up to that point, the handful of runs that we had called had not been successful. So, I guess the long and short, it was calling what we had to call to try to win the game.
Frank, you brought up urgency. How do you balance messaging between urgency and it coming off as panic or concern?
Well, the good news for us is, like from day one, we've talked about urgency. Like we were in training camp talking about it, and we always talk about a healthy tension. And the thing that we talked about in training camp was both urgency and be intentional. Be intentional and urgent and intentional. So that's a good thing. When you start those principles and those themes in training camp, when it comes to the season, the guys know this is, we talk about this all the time. And we all know we need to be reminded of it. Then the season brings that to light even more.
Frank, when did you get a strong sense that running the ball yesterday was going to be a slog?
Listen, we knew going into the game that, and it was a small sample size going into the game on the Seattle defense, but just in general that their run defense was pretty stout and that their pass defense had given up some yards. And so there was a little bit going into this game, hey, we need to kind of spread our wings here and do some damage in the passing game. This is going to have an opportunity for us to gain some life and some momentum and confidence in the passing game, with the intention of solely winning the game. So early on, it was +4, +2, 0, 0, 1, 3, 2. Then there was a 1 plus 15-yard run in there where Miles made a good run and made a guy miss. But we just need to have a little bit you need to do two things in the run game: have a little bit more success early, and then as a play caller, you still do understand that at some level you have to stick with the run. Like you have to stick with the run. So and you want to feel that, and so that's the balance you try to hold.
Frank, from a defensive standpoint, the Falcons and the Saints are pretty similar. Going up against a zone-heavy team in Seattle, what did you notice from your wide receivers?
I thought they performed well. I thought that, DJ getting back and making plays down the field was good. Adam being able to work in a zone and, how smart he is and understanding spacing and leverage. Andy, being able to see it and work it. I thought the plan in the pass game was pretty solid. And then the other thing, and to Andy's credit, there were some things that came up just like we wanted them to come up in the pass game. And then there were some plays that Andy made off schedule. I mean, he made a handful of plays off schedule that were dynamic plays by him. So that was a very positive thing.
What do you think, have you talked to Bryce about the game and maybe what he could have learned watching Andy out there and the whole offense from a distance, kind of taking that step back?
I haven't had a long I did have a short conversation with him, after the game, but not that kind of a conversation. It was just just checking with him and encouraging him, to see how it goes this week. But I really felt like Bryce was dialed. Whatever was set up for Bryce to gain out of this week, I know he gained every ounce of what he could gain by watching Andy, by watching our offense, by watching our team. He was dialed in to kind of learn from that whole process.
Were there some shots that Andy took yesterday that Bryce had not taken on some similar concepts the first 2 weeks?
No, I wouldn't say that was the case. I probably called a few more, because of I probably called a few more, and there were one or two things that Andy specifically asked for, which I wouldn't go into. I don't want to go into detail on, but there were a couple things that he specifically asked for, and then the one that we hit, the one that we hit the DJ for the touchdown. That was, obviously great execution by the offense, but also a good job by Thomas and Parks, Frazier, and the whole offensive staff. That was a play design that we saw something in the way they played their coverage that we thought we could expose something. And if we got in the right, and there was a certain situation, a certain time and place that we wanted to get it done, and it came up exactly how we wanted it to. And so that was a real credit to Thomas and Parks and the guys. Those were good things that we can build on.
Watching the tape, for the second time in 2 weeks, Hayden Hurst didn't get a target in the first half. What are you seeing from other defenses that are kind of, getting him out of plays?
I just think it was, in those zone defenses, you're working through your progression, and you're working through your progression, and just so I think in time the tight ends are going to continue to catch their balls, catch the football a number of times, but it just didn't go his way as much.
You mentioned yesterday the leadership you have in the locker, so they're not going to get up and all that. One of those guys, I guess, is Thielen. He showed at the older age what he can do on the field yesterday, receiving-wise. What have you seen beyond that that you feel like he's going to be beneficial to his team moving forward?
He's a phenomenal leader and a phenomenal competitor. I mean, this guy is everything you want in a player and a leader and a competitor. So I cannot be more thrilled that he's here and helping to lead this team.
Defensively, you guys have obviously suffered a lot of injuries, but you brought in some older players to kind of step up in their place. How have those guys done from a step-up standpoint with all these moving variables around the defense?
I think Scott and the staff and his staff have done it, with some of the injuries. And listen, as a coach, I care about the injuries because I love our players and I care about our players. But, we're just moving on with who we got to move on with, and everybody knows that that's how you have to be. It's not heartless; it's just mission-minded. And so, as the season has gone on, we've continued to churn the roster a little bit and bring some guys in that are helping, and that we, still need to learn the system more, but that we feel are helping us to get better. So we just got to keep finding ways to play winning football for 60 minutes.
Would you anticipate Bryce practicing Wednesday?
Don't know yet. I mean, we'll see how tomorrow goes, and then Wednesday, give you an update then. But I know he's done everything possible to try to put himself in position too.
Is there something to the way that, you've had some late starts? Is there something to be said about a team that slowly ascends as opposed to a team that maybe kind of flashes from the start and then falls off?
Well, I do think that, one of the things we talked about as a team today is like, listen, we're 0-3. We're not happy about it. In fact, we're disgusted about it. But everything we want is in front of us. There's no guarantees, no promises, but the way to handle it is take it one day at a time. And that when you do that, it's going to be hard. And this is to your point, Mike. You can build a resilience and a toughness sometimes by the slow start. Believe me, I wish we were 3-0. We all do, but we're not. So as Brian Burns said a couple weeks ago, it happened for us, not to us. So what are we going to do with that? And that's what our job is, to make that work in our benefit.
What did you see out of Deion Jones yesterday, who's a guy you might need more of?
Yeah, I thought he made it. Obviously the interception was a really instinctive play. Made a couple nice tackles. So I thought he played well. There were a few things to clean up, but I was happy with, I was happy with Deion stepping in there, and love to see him in there.
And Kamu, a guy as well, comes out, leads the team in tackles, and even getting a lot of reps on special teams. What can you say about his play and how proud you are of him for being able to step up in that role?
Kamu's he's my guy. I mean, they're all, but I love this guy. I mean, he's everything you want in a player and a teammate. He has no, there's no back down in his game. He steps up. He stepped up in the tough, filling the void of Shaq missing, and he's done it exceedingly well. And then still finding a way to contribute in other ways, and then leader on the team. That's a good group.
Is Bryce trending to where you think you'll at least give a shot at practice Wednesday now, or
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I really don't know. I talked to him Sunday for a little bit. He said he's felt better every day, so I'm encouraged by that. He said I feel better every day. So I think we'll just have to see how it goes.
Do you have any update on Austin and then the right guard position, the way you guys have rotated it?
I kind of take sneak peeks at Austin I see him. We walk out and I see him working off over to the side, and I know he's working exceedingly hard, to get back as fast as he can. So, I know this with Austin. Whatever that date is, that the docs are going to say, okay, let's go. He'll be ready.
Pretty much good. All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, everybody.